Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the Epic Narrative.
Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or I'm happy you joined us while you travel, or while you run, or while you walk, or while you clean, or while you just sit on the couch and listen to a story. Dun 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 dun. The Epic Narrative is going to continue through the book of Genesis. If you notice the title for this, I titled it Lying Father, Lying Son. Kind of a play on words like father, like son. And I do think ancestries are really important. I think that the Bible definitely values them. You can see that. Bloodlines are valuable. We went through a significant, I think, pollution of bloodlines that occurred under Noah. And that's part of why the world was headed down the death trap that it was headed down. And the Lord had to offer this way to get out, this rescue trip. And the only righteous person he could find was somebody whose bloodline was clean. It didn't necessarily mean that Noah was perfect, just that it was clean. But bloodlines are really, are really important. It's one of the reasons why. Well, you'll see. Okay, yeah, I almost jumped way ahead. Okay, here we go. Verse 1 of chapter 26. Now there was famine in the land, besides the previous famine in Abraham's time. And Isaac went to Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, in Gerar. And the Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Don't go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I have told you to live. Stay in this land for a while. I will give it to you, and I will bless you, and for you and your descendants, and I will make all these lands to be yours, and I will confirm that oath with you that I had with your father, and I will make your descendants as numerous as the seas in the sky, stars in the sky, seas in the sky. And I will give them these lands, and through your offspring and all the nations of the earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me, did everything I required of him, keeping my commandments and my decrees and my instructions." And so Isaac stayed in Gerar. Whew, I guess so. After all that, you would stay in Gerar. You'd be like, okay, I get it. But famine means a lot of things in the literary world and in the spiritual world. Famine can can mean that you are unable to provide for yourself. It's a severe famine. Things are so bad. It's been around for so many years. Basically no one can live here. And everybody has to go somewhere else to survive. And if you do find somebody living there, they are eking out some sort of minuscule existence, with the and you're not going to join them. You just got to kind of look at them and be like, yeah, no. Nothing's that pretty that I'm gonna, live here. So famine can also mean that there's a lack of resources for commerce. In other words, you can probably find enough water to plant, enough stalks of corn and enough grain to make what you need to make in order to survive. You might be able to find enough water to keep the what do they call them? The ewes, the breeding sheep, the breeding goats, the breeding horses. You might be able to find enough water to keep them alive, enough food to keep them alive, but you're not going to find enough to actually expand anything. You're not going to be able to sell or bring things to the market. You're not going to be able to increase your holdings anywhere, because all your money and resources are going to be on survival. People are in survival mode. This is stuff that if, the more you have, the more it impacts you. It's a lot like, it's a lot like anything economic. And honestly, if you're super rich, then you probably got the resources to find other places to continue your resources, which is part of what went on here, right? So famine are the circumstances, right? They bring about opportunities for decisions. You got to make a decision. Are we going to stay? Are we going to go? Do you think we can get enough to survive? Do you think do we have enough stored up from before? Do we have enough money to pay people to bring us stuff? Do you want to move? Do you want to stay? Do you want to go? Do you want to change our business? Do you want to go into some other form of money making? Do you want to move to a different country? And of course, it can also bring a strain on relationships. Anytime that there's a lack of resources or lack of ability to get resources, then relationships can get strained. Well, actually, they can get strained either way because, oh Lord, people who are incredibly wealthy still have relational issues. But that aside, famine can definitely add some stress to it, exasperate situations and emotions, and cause worry and fear, yada yada yada. So now there's famine in the land. This is different from the famine that Abraham went through, and so Isaac went to the Philistines. Why? And that's what all the rest of the verses are about. He had a decision to make. There's famine in the land. We're not getting enough water to feed our flocks, to keep everybody, going. What do you want to do, boss? And he's thinking, well, my dad went to Egypt and came back way richer. So maybe we do that. Now, remember, during all of this, you still have Jacob and Esau alive and well and running around. And you got Esau, who is very much, he's still in that immediate satisfaction mindset. His paradigm for doing life is, let's get it done. Let me just, it's not that I don't want to say I don't care about the consequences, but generally speaking, people with that type of mindset don't seem to care about the consequences. Their thought is, I can fix it. Like a hunter mindset, somebody who's been outside in the woods, somebody who's clearly has to have creative problem solving skills. They tend not to be as worried about the results of their choices because they figure, I'll fix it when that happens. Like, let me just make the choice I want to make now, and we'll figure out the rest later. Jacob, on the other hand, his approach was, let's think long term. Let's consider the whole picture. Let's think about how this is going to impact us in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. How's it going to impact the family? Where are we going to live? Where are we going to get water? Like, if we spend all the resources now, Dad, and don't move, if we start paying people to bring us things, like how is that going to set us up in the future? And I would imagine that Esau and Jacob had input into Isaac's decision making. And of course, Esau is pushing Dad to make a quick decision. And I have a sense, nothing other than a sense, that Esau is probably thinking, let's go to Egypt, everything will be fine. We'll have plenty of water, plenty of resources. We'll find a place to live. We have money. We can rent a place. We can build a place. We got all kinds of tents, whatever you want to do. Let's just go to Egypt. Let's just solve the problem. And I think Jacob's thinking, let's consider all the options before we make such a decision. So the Lord comes to Isaac and he says, don't go to Egypt. Stay here. Stay in the land that I'm going to give you. And he just reminds him, you are going to possess this land. Your descendants are going to possess this land. It's a land, when he says I'm going to give it to you, and I know we've covered this before, it doesn't mean I'm going to annihilate everyone. It means you are going to overcome this culture. You are going to overcome this land. It's all going to be in your, quote, possession. And Isaac understood that as well. So he's like, yeah, basically, yes, we'll stay here. Because we can't have possession of the land if we keep moving out of the land. We don't own any property. So we need to stay in the culture. We need to stay with the people. We need to, live life alongside them. This was a wise decision. It's also good and wise, because he listened to God, which is, a pretty good resources of wisdom and making of wise decisions. So he just, he stays. He goes to the coast. He goes to the Philistines to it's Abimelech, okay? But it's all resources say this isn't Abimelech, the guy who made a treaty with Abraham. This is Abimelech, the son of the guy who made a treaty with Abraham. So I wonder sometimes, given the rest of the story, if this Abimelech ever really knew why his father made the treaty with Abraham. I think he always knew that this tribe, this clan that was ever growing out there in the plains of Canaan, they were great people and they got along and there was a treaty. I just don't know if he knew why, because that was an embarrassing thing for his father to have gone through, to have, considered almost marrying Abraham's wife, Sarah. and finding out how old she is, despite how beautiful she was. So the culture of that area is still the same as it was in Abraham's when Abraham visited. It's a culture that isn't, we'll say Yahweh centric. It doesn't have kingdom principles. It's kind of selfish, pride, arrogance, do what you want, get what you can. And one of the things that they would do, is if you were married to a beautiful woman, they would still, you would have an unfortunate accident and your wife would become available, and the guy might just happen to be there and offer to take her under his wing and provide for her and take care of the family, and everything would turn out just fine. And most women, unfortunately, in that culture, did not have the resources or access to the resources in order to get anything accomplished. So they would usually give in to whoever it was that offed their husband. So, verse 7, when the men of that place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." See, this is why I named it Lying Father, Lying Son. It's the same lie. Crazy, isn't it? Like, I wonder, did Abraham tell Isaac this story? Did he say, "Yeah, hey, listen, I got a story for you, son. There was a bad famine in the land, and we didn't know, what to do. I had the responsibility of your mother and all the servants, and well, I went down to Egypt, but your mother, so good looking. Even back in the day, like, you just wouldn't even believe it." And he goes through the whole long story. And did Isaac, listen? Did he learn? Did he think to himself, that worked out great? Like, so many times that happens to people's lives, right? They head down a path. We'll just say a bad path, a bad choice. They make a choice. They go down that choice. They get to the end of that choice. They realize how much trouble they're in, and God's goodness shows up. And God's goodness and favor is poured out on them, because they're like, "Oh my goodness, I made a really bad choice. This is really, I'm in big trouble, God." And God comes through, and then they look at their original choice and say, all part of God's plan. Sweet Jesus made it all right. And sometimes, even today, I hear people, not today, because I haven't actually heard anybody today, because I'm alone and it's early in the morning, but I have heard people in prayer meetings or in whether testifying, they talk like that. And they'll say, I made this choice, I went and did this, and I stole that, or I got in trouble for this, but God, it was all part of God's plan, because in the end, I ended up with more than I thought, or I ended up, not doing jail time, or, the cops didn't come, or we were able to bury the problem. Literally, I went through that once. I was part of something, and there was an illegal dump site on the property, and we dumped everything in there, like not like everyday trash, but we dumped all kinds of junk and stuff that you're not supposed to dump in there. Air conditioners and engines and refrigerators, and stuff would break down because the quote ministry didn't want to spend the money taking it to where we were supposed to, and we had all this property. So just dig a big hole with a backhoe, and we'll just dump it all in there, and that's what we did. And then we just buried it. We buried it when some inspectors were coming, and nobody knew. And we were like, we just need to thank the Lord that no one found out. And I'm like internally thinking, I don't think God was like happy with the fact that we were doing something illegal. Or you could make it more simple, right? When you're speeding down the highway, or down here around me right now, like it's local roads, like speed limit is 35, and you can easily do 40. Or there's one town around here where the speed limit is 25, and I mean to tell you, it is so hard to do 25, because you can do 30 or 35, and it's really like, it's not a dangerous road. It's just that particular town It is a small New England town, and they don't want you going fast. And trust me, the cops are they are out every day. And I'm guessing they're out every day because they find people every day because it is so hard to go 25 miles an hour. And so you go through something like that, and I know, there was that pause because I forgot what I was telling you the story about. So you go through something like that, and let's say I'm rolling through there at 30, and I see the cop, and it's like, oh crap, oh no, 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 and you're looking in your rearview mirror, and they don't pull you over, and you say to yourself, oh, thank the Lord, thank you Jesus, thank you Lord, oh yes, yes. I don't know, God's goodness, yes, kept me from getting a ticket. But does that mean doing 30 miles an hour like he was good with that? I don't think so. So I think somewhere in there, Isaac has heard the story about telling everyone that, of Abraham, of telling everyone that Sarah was his sister. And Isaac's thinking, this turned out great for Dad. I'm sure it'll turn out great for me. So he says to the men of the city and of that area, he says, she is my sister. He said this because he was afraid. Sorry, I wanted to pause there, right? Decisions made out of fear. Never good. Nope. Not good. It's not good. Decisions made out of fear. That's why this culture of fear that gets pushed on us so many times, and you can go through the list of things. Well, the government, well, the media, well, the music, the whatever, the books, the teachers, the preachers. Trust me, creating a culture of fear will get people to perform certain things, but it will destroy the culture and ultimately lead to death. It just does every time. But it's addictive because in theory, it helps things happen quickly. You create a quick sense of fear, and everybody falls into line. Everybody does whatever they're told because they don't want whatever bad thing you said is going to happen. And then if the bad thing doesn't happen, then you have to create more fear, or you let people go back to peace and you say, well, you know what? You did great. Everything's fine. Go back to your lives. Everything's fine. But to perpetuate fear is something that certain, shall we say, influential streams of influence. There's some who just can't stop. Everything is a disaster. And you know what? On a small note, I think weathermen are probably one of the worst. That's between you and me. If you're a weatherman out there, I'm really sorry, but most of your colleagues constantly bring in the fear factor. Even if the remotest chance, right? 0.01% that this is going to turn into a hurricane. You just throw that out at the end of the report, right? And potentially it could turn into something much worse, even a hurricane. All right, tune back again at 11. I'll have more of that at 11 and give you more details. And you're like, wait, what? I thought we were just going to get some rain tomorrow. Where'd the hurricane come from? And through just a seed of fear, right? They want you to. I don't. I literally don't even watch the news. I can't even remember the last time I did. But anyways, I really can't remember ever watching the news. I mean, I can remember that I did at one point in my life. I can't remember the last time I did, though. Anyways, enough about me. On with the story. Fear is never a good reason to make a decision. But that's where this decision is made. It's made out of a root of fear. She is my wife, he thought. Then the man of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah because she's beautiful. So when Isaac had been there a long time, he had been doing life. His family, his two sons, growing up, flocks, etc. Now, this is during the famine. He's still doing fine. He's staying in the city. They have the money. They have the resources. They can get credit. People are willing to help him out. So he's getting along just fine in the city. Everybody's happy. They're on the coast. There's at least, a nice cool breeze. No one's overheating. There's a lot of benefit to being out there. Famine doesn't impact the fishing. So there's proteins and there, the shipping industry is right there. So you're able to, it may be expensive, but if you have money like Isaac would, You could also buy the grain and the corn, etc., to make your bread and all that kind of stuff. The rice. He had been there a long time. Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. What? That is crazy. Now remember, the men that he's talking to are not the street guys, right? These are prominent men. These are men within, I would say, like the court of Abimelech. These are basically royalty. And he's told them, this is my sister, this is my sister. So he's probably in a courtyard. They're hanging out there in the shade under the pretty fabric. What do I want to call it? Yeah, fabric. Curtains, there you go. The tapestries hanging across the courtyard, or the palm trees that are still alive if they are. And everybody, all the wealthy people always seem to find each other, right? It's interesting how that happens. I don't think it's evil. I just find it fascinating. Rich people tend to find each other. They tend to, they don't worry about things. They have resources. And I know that's a whole nother social dynamic that can get people all kind of freaky deaky. Because, should all the, oh no, Bob, don't go down the road. Okay, so it's a good discussion to have. It really is, but I don't want to discuss it right here. And we might. But the whole idea of, taxes and taking care of the poor and like that is a principle of heaven. That is something that Jesus taught us very clearly, and I believe is in God's heart, to take care of people and to take care of those who don't, that those who have take care of those who have not. And how that's done is there's a lot of options on how you do that. But I think everybody should be doing that. And culturally, it takes on different pictures all the time, because you may be in a place of wealth, but somebody near you is in a place of need. And theoretically, you could look at them and say, well, they're really wealthy. I don't need to help them. But you see the need and you try to help that need. And you can be, I've worked amongst the poor of the poor. And yet there's, again, they see somebody else who, could use that last piece of bread that they have, and they bring it to them. They just, there's a principle of love that says take care of one another. Oh, okay. I have no idea why you felt the need to go down that. I know Bob's in just shaking his head in the engineering booth like, you're never getting through this. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I've got time. It's a podcast. What could go wrong? All right, so he sees him caressing his wife. So this is basically like a makeout session. And whatever that means to you, we'll just let that ride. What he saw was not something you would see between a brother and a sister. That's what he saw. He looked out of his window and was like, that's that's Isaac. Who is he? Wait, who is he kissing? Oh my gosh, that is Rebekah. There is no way that's his sister. That's what he saw. When he got done looking at it, there's like, no way that's his sister. So whatever that caressing means, that's what that means. So Abimelech summons Isaac right away. Now remember, his father had to do this to Abraham. And he goes, he doesn't even ask the question. He's just like, she is your wife. Why did you say she is my sister? Yeah, that's good. That's good. He makes the call. He's like, that is not your sister. Why did you tell me it was? Well, because I thought I might. Oh, here we go with the selfishness of fear, right? Fear is based in selfishness. Oh man, I thought I might lose my life on the account of her. She's so good looking. Somebody would kill me if they knew that I was married to her. So Abimelech, he's like, what? What have you done? Do you have any idea what this would have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us all. Now, this is because culturally, this is interesting to me, culturally, it wasn't right to commit adultery. And if you did, this was something that we'll just say the idol worshiping, they looked at this as a opportunity that would bring really negative impact on their area. Like, the fishing would dry up, or the boats would sink, or there'd be a bad storm, that sort of thing. They were like, you just don't do this. Like, you would have brought a bad deal to, maybe they use the word karma. You would have brought bad stuff onto us. If one of the men had slept with your sister, he would have thought it was your sister. He would have had no idea that it was your wife. And that's something we're not allowed to do. You know this. This is really bad. All right, listen. Now, I think this is so gracious. So gracious of Abimelech, because he gives the orders to all the people. He sets it out. No one is to harm this man or his wife. He makes the declaration. We're going to protect this guy. We're going to protect him. We're going to protect his wife. No one's going to kill him. No one's going to steal his wife. She is good looking. I get it. Everybody here loved her. But we're not going to kill him. I'm not going to put that kind of guilt on our culture. I'm not going to carry that kind of guilt on our government. So anyways, he puts out a death sentence. And Isaac planted crops in the land. And the same year he reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and so many herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. All right, so why does God bless this man after what he did? This is a fair question. This is the way I see it. God's not happy about the lying. What his blessing is able to flow through is that truth is now being told. Abimelech forced the truth to come out. Abimelech, paid attention and was like, wait, we gotta fix something that's wrong. And he sets out to protect Isaac and the integrity of his nation. And Isaac, I'm sure, greatly appreciated the fact that he was now protected, and now he could sleep with his wife without sneaking around. I'm guessing they were sneaking around, but now he can be out in the open, and so he's able to live free. This is why when you make a decision out of fear, you're not free. You're not free. You become in bondage. I know that's a huge, that's such a loaded word, but that's what it becomes like. You start to operate out of this place where you're not free to do whatever it is you want. Listen, Isaac lied. When you lie, it's not just once, right? He's been lying to people for a long time. He feels bad about this. He probably had to lie, obviously, that it was his sister. And then I'm sure as people were interested, he lied about whether or not she was interested in them. And then, can we come over for dinner and meet your sister? No, I'm really busy tonight. Like, he had compounded lie upon lie upon lie. His heart had to be really heavy, but he couldn't get out of the lie. Abimelech gets him out. Abimelech figures it, sees it, and in his wisdom says, I need to straighten this out. This is amazing to me. So out of freedom, Isaac's finally able to operate out of freedom. He can operate openly. And love is always about freedom. Heaven is always about freedom. This is a healthy place for him to be. So he starts planting crops, and God's blessing can always flow when you're being honest. He can always flow when you're not living in fear. It's not that he doesn't send the good stuff. It's that fear blocks it. It's you that gets you set out of, it's all you. But you get yourself out of the frequency of heaven. You're not listening and hearing the rhythms of heaven. You're not drawn back and living out of the original identity of creation. You're living out of a new identity, and it's sourced in fear. So yeah, out of freedom, he gets blessed and his crops grow and 100-fold. Now, usually most farmers in that day would hope for a 40-fold harvest. In other words, they get 40% more than what they planted. 50 was great. 70 was off the charts. To get 100-fold is insane. But that's what he started to get. And then, of course, that gave him resources, and he was able to expand even more and plant even more and trade even more and flocks and money and clothing and tents and so the servants of the Philistines, okay, so they're out in the fields working. They're watching all this going on. They're like, this isn't right. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug up during the time of Abraham, right? The Philistines filled in with water because they're like, remember the well that they dug, that Abraham dug with Abimelech. Remember there was a little well issue a few episodes ago, and in that episode, they dug one and they agreed that was Abraham's well, and Abraham planted a tree next to it. It's like, this is mine. This is my water source. All right. So Abimelech agreed, and they were like, we'll go to other water sources. Everything that was Abraham's Abimelech. Now this is Isaac's Abimelech. So the servants of the wealthy people in the city are like, we can't, like, he clearly is getting a ton of water from his wells. If he wasn't getting water, then he wouldn't stay. We can't stand it. We don't like him. We envy him. Always fascinating, right? What envy will do, because it always destroys things. It never makes things better. And you think, if I destroy the other person, my life will be better. That's never what happens, right? Envy, that's not what happens. You destroy someone else's life, your life becomes worse. I mean, think about it. Rather than work out a deal to get water from the same wells that Isaac had dug, in other words, pay a tax or make an arrangement so that everybody gets water from this well or these wells, they decide to stop up the well, to fill them in with dirt, because then nobody gets water. Like, this is just the insanity, the irrationality of envy. And I kind of think, I'm picturing Esau. He probably wanted to kill these guys. That's what I think. He's probably like, listen, Dad, I could stand 100 yards away and take out 3 of them with 1 arrow. Trust me, I'm that good. Isaac's like, no, we're going to figure this out. So Abimelech comes to Isaac and he says, listen, why don't you move away from us? You've become very, very powerful. In other words, you've gotten way too many riches. And my people are having a tough time with that. Like, they see all of your favor as the fact that their gods don't like them, but your God really likes you. So they want retaliation. And I don't want to stop them. I just want, can you just move away? So he did. Isaac moved away. He moved away, camped in another valley. That's where he settled. He reopened the wells that had been dug during his, basically when his father Abraham had lived there. And, when his father died, the Philistines came in and filled them all in, because there's some truth to this. They knew that at some level, the water table of the land was important. So if you had a well and I had a well, and your well was above mine or below, below mine, then my water would run to your well, and you'd end up with the deeper well wins, so to speak. So they would stop up wells when the owner of them would die. They would fill them in, and I know it's annoying, but at some level they were also saying, this will keep my well from going dry because their well is now useless. So, anyways, Isaac's servants dug. They kept finding fresh water, and then the shepherds would come and they would quarrel and they would fight and they would say, no, that's our water. This is our dad. So they disputed over things, and they would dig more and they would quarrel over that. And these are not like day by day things. Like, these things would take months and months, right? You dig a well for weeks, and then you'd be using it, and then the herdsmen would come around later and they'd be upset because you have a well and their well isn't doing so well. Oh, you just used well like 12 times, Bob. Thank you so much. Anyways, it's just a mess, and it goes on and on and on. So Isaac's kind of moving around. Isaac keeps finding water, and then people keep wanting to take it from him. So verse 24, he went to Beersheba, And that night the Lord appeared to him and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid. I am with you. I will bless you. I will increase your number, your descendants, for the sake of my servant Abraham. And Isaac built an altar there, and he named it in the name of the Lord. He pitched his tent, and his servants dug a well, which is the first thing you need to do, right? You ever watch like that? I watched that show. I think it's on the History Channel called Alone. Like, to me, that's like legit Survivor stuff. So it's not filled with pre-production and maybe some little helps here and there. These people are competing. There's no timeline. That's what to me is fascinating. These guys go out expecting to spend a year or more living alone, and I mean they are in horrible conditions. Oh, and for me, the horribleness is cold and wet. Oh, the worst. It's the worst. Anyways, the first thing they have to do is find a water supply. That's what they do. So that's what these guys do. He hears from the Lord. Again, Isaac, it sounds like Isaac never heard from the Lord. It's at this specific time, basically God saying, hang out here, stay here. So they dug another well, and he built an altar to the Lord. So they had a central place to come and worship and learn from the teachings of Abraham. And Abimelech finds him. Now I'm guessing he'd been tracking him for days. They show up. He's there with his wise counsel and the commander of his forces. And Isaac says, "What are you doing here? You were hostile to me. You sent me away. I've traveled away. Your servants and herdsmen keep chasing me. Like, this is just, what is going on?" Well, I think that it's pretty clear that the God that you serve really likes you. Everywhere you go, you keep expanding. You keep getting more powerful. You keep getting more servants, more security, more herds. Like, I think that there should be an agreement, a treaty between us. You will not do us any harm, and we won't do you any harm. But always we will treat you well, and we'll send you away peacefully, and everything will be good. Like, everything's going to be good. So again, a little note on their culture, right? Isaac listens to all that, and then they have a feast together. And after they ate and drank and talked all night long as friends, in the morning is when they actually agree on the treaty. They swore that oath, and Isaac sent them on their way in peace, and everything was good. And that day the servants come out and say, "We found the water." And that kind of literally puts the bookend on the basic end of the story, right? Because we start out with a famine and we end with water. We start out with having to make changes, to make a move, to live in a city, to put strain on relationships, and we land in a place where we're at peace with the culture around us. We are at peace with the herdsmen, the shepherds around us, and we find a resource, a water source that allows us to expand and to continue to grow and see the favor of God come. It's just an interesting little back and forth that you can pick up on the language. And he called it, it was outside the town of Beersheba where he had landed. And then we just get like this little, we get this little thing. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and he also married Basmath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. So they were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. I just think it's cute. Like, family never goes away, right? You just can't. Everything's going great. We have this nice, peaceful treaty situation going on. And then it's like we just get like this little note, like, yeah, but Esau's still a bother. Like, he's just marrying good-looking chicks that he finds. Like, this is nuts. It's always fun, to have family. But I think for today, we'll just say that Esau's in a place where He's having fun. He makes decisions in the moment. He worries about the ramifications later. He has incredible confidence in his ability to overcome bad decisions. And if nothing else, he knows he can always hunt, go out hunting and come back with food. Everybody likes food. Everybody likes to party. As long as there's food, everybody's going to be fine. We'll figure this out. That's his. I don't think sometimes Esau comes across as like this evil character, this anti-God character. I don't know if he was really anti-God. I just think he really just had a different paradigm of decision making. Meanwhile, Jacob, who's also 40, he's still single. He's still stable. He's still being responsible. And I'm sure Rebekah reminds Isaac of this. And that's why it says they were, these women, these foreign wives were a source of grief to Isaac and to Rebekah. Because Isaac wants to give all the blessings to Esau, right? We know this. He wants to give him the whole family deal. But he also knows, good grief, son, come on. Like, you're marrying these foreign women. This is not the plan. You look radical, or not radical. You look irrational. You look like you're one of them. Like, I need you to be like your brother. A little bit. Can you be a little bit like your brother? Meanwhile, Rebekah's like, Jacob's making a good decision. Jacob expanded this field. Jacob made a good trade deal. Jacob told me that he was talking to this merchant, and we're going to be able to get these at a cheaper rate for the next 2 seasons. Like, whatever. Like, Jacob is doing his deal, Isaac's doing his deal, and all of this is going on after this famine. But now we're in a good place, a place of peace, a place of resource. And whatever you do, when you know your heritage, don't look at bad decisions that someone made before you as an excuse for you to make them as well. Even though they might have walked out of those bad decisions with blessings. Even though they might have, whatever. Sorry, I don't want to keep going. We've gone long enough. Maybe I'll give more of this on Bob Thoughts later on. But anyways, for today, we are done with the epic narrative. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I look forward to hearing from you and connecting with you again next time on the epic narrative.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
Yeah, let me try and put that thought again in a more succinct manner, and that is, God's goodness is what's constant. He is never not good. And when we get blessings after making a poor decision because we lied on a resume and we got a great job, we cheated on a test and we got a great score, we plagiarized and we got a good grade, we spent money or hid money, and then we were able to purchase something and we just had a great time and nobody knew where the money came, or my wife didn't know where the money came from, or whatever. Like, there's all kinds of ways that we can make poor decisions that I would consider not kingdom decisions that are based in deception, based in selfishness, based in fear, based in hurting other people, but it makes us feel good. Like cutting, like that whole realm of gossip and destruction of people's character. All of that are bad decisions. These are decisions that cause people to not understand a connection to heaven, right? Now, in making those decisions, if good things happen to us anyway, that is not some sort of endorsement from heaven saying, well, it's all right. God's not up there going, well, a little lie doesn't hurt anybody, or a little cheating, a little deception, a little hiddenness. This is not going to be a problem because I'm going to bless you. I'm good with it. God is not good with it. The kingdom doesn't go forward because of it. What we need to recognize is that God is always good, always good. My producer, he once said to me, he was in a corporate meeting, and they were basically, they were going to spend a bunch of money because they had some money, and they were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And there really wasn't, my understanding is there just wasn't a lot of consideration as to what God might think or anything like that. And the concept in this meeting was, well, we have the money, let's go ahead and spend it. And my friend was like, really? Do we really think that we're batting 1,000? In other words, do you really think that we're all making every decision is the best decision and God is blessing us? Or do we think that God is just good? And it just at least gave everybody the opportunity to pause and think, wow, maybe God's just always good. And I love that. I love that we get an opportunity every time we make a choice and we see the results, we get to say to ourselves, well, did that happen because of my amazing ability to lie to people and to fake them out and to pretend to be someone I'm not, or to cut down their reputation, or et cetera, et cetera? Or is God just really good? It's his kindness that leads to repentance. It's his goodness that lets us know that he's never separated from us. It's not, his kindness and his goodness is not an endorsement of all of our decisions. Now, hopefully, all your decisions are amazing and rooted in the kingdom of God. And then what does it do? It opens you up to constant flow, like an amazing, overwhelming flow. There's nothing that will hinder his goodness. Kind of like what we saw today in this episode. Like once everything got right, man, the well opened up. It's a good picture, and it's something we should keep in mind. It truly is. Now, on my little journey of life, just for what it's worth, if you're paying attention at home, we are on our way. We're going to be in Atlanta. And then I think, by the time you hear this on Monday, we will be preparing for our trip to Texas. We're going to end up in Texas, I think, for about 6 months. Hopefully, I'll get done at least with the research of Exodus, and we'll start recording that so that when Genesis is done, Exodus can begin season 3. This is really fun for me. I know last week we celebrated the 100th episode, 100th chapter of the biblical narrative, and I look forward to continuing the process. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for listening. Have yourself a fabulous day.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.